Most retail and commerce media networks don't fail because demand disappears. Instead, they stall because they are built for one stage of growth and then the business changes underneath them. In 2010, I created a Path to Excellence framework for publishers who wanted to build better pricing and yield management teams. And what I learned was that growth doesn't happen smoothly. It happens in predictable jumps, followed by very predictable bottlenecks. And the same pattern shows up even more clearly today in retail and commerce media networks, so I've updated that framework. And while my focus today is on retail media networks, because they are one of the biggest growth areas in our industry, the same ideas are equally going to apply to other fast-growing publishers, whether they're CTV, gaming, marketplaces, or something else. You're going to find that you hit many of the same changes and challenges in a similar order. Teams launch quickly, revenue looks promising, and then suddenly sales starts to slow, advertisers ask harder questions, operational cracks begin to show, and growth hits a ceiling that nobody quite owns. So the mistake that many teams make is assuming that they either need more sales or more technology, when the real issue is that the organization hasn't evolved to the next stage of the business. Today, I'm going to walk you through a simple framework that explains how the retail media networks actually grow, the capabilities required at each stage, and why the right decisions early on make everything easier later. As you can see in this graphic, there are 5 clear stages that an organization goes through. I have deliberately portrayed the fact that they overlap, and they do, and you could argue that the challenges of the last 2 stages should be flipped depending on the organization. But let's get into it. As you can see in this graphic, the first stage is launching. It's from 0 to ads. It's everything around what you need to do to get ads up on your page. The second is validating, which I also call proving that you belong. And it's the first year of operations. Beyond that, we get into optimization, which is making it all work. And then the last 2 stages, which as I say could be interchangeable, are called expand, where you start to hit a growth ceiling around often year 2 or 3. And the 5th is scaling with data, which is taking control of those data assets, again, usually about 3 years out. So, with that in mind, let's start at the beginning. Stage 1 is launching. And this is the act of going from nothing on your pages to having ads up on your website, selling those ads, and having the mainline business acknowledge that there really is a companion business that now exists around advertising. While there is a path where you could build this business using solely programmatic advertising, hooking up to Google AdX, in practice, most businesses find that a better path is to invest in a sales team with a good sales leader. You also need some engineers to put ad blocks on the pages and ensure that you are delivering against them. So what does it look like? Again, the main focus is on sales and ad product. You need to have a sales team that's either selling on a sponsorship or a flat fee basis, or maybe they're selling some CPM-based products. And the key here is that initially they're going to go out to existing partners, sometimes referred to as endemic advertisers. These are the partners that the retail or the commerce business already works with, who already understands the business, and asks them if they are interested in some advertising space. So at this stage, what are the key challenges? The key challenge is simply to try to get partners or advertisers to try the new retail media network, to try to prove out that value to the advertiser. And there is a short list of things that you absolutely need to get right to build that foundation. The first is hiring. You need to have good salespeople, and particularly a good sales leader, and you need to have good product and engineering people who can ensure that things are running seamlessly. The second thing is good ad units, meaning, this sounds easy, but you need to make the decision. Are you putting native ads on your page? Are you putting traditional graphical banners? Are you going to focus on video or something else? And you need to ensure that these ads are viewable. So one of those things that sounds easy, put a slot on a page, but a lot of decision making needs to go in, because some of those decisions are going to come back and stay with you for many years. The third thing is you really need a scalable tech stack. I've seen small retail media networks who pick a niche technology because it's cheap and they're not sure how big the business is going to grow. And generally, this is a mistake. You need to build a technology stack as if you are going to be successful later, because it is extremely difficult to swap out an ad server, to swap out your order management system. If at all possible, you need to pick something early that is going to last you the whole way through this journey. And then the last component that you need to focus on is a rate card. And here it's the ad products and the pricing. And note that I said ad product, not ad unit. I previously said ad unit or ad format, meaning what are the things that you're putting on the page. An ad product is a broader concept that incorporates both the ad format, but also how you're selling it. Are you selling it on a sponsorship basis? Are you selling it on a CPM basis? What guarantees are you making around delivery? What guarantees are you making around viewability, etc.? I've done a host of different videos on this, which I'll link to, so I'm not going to belabor the point here. Do you need a yield management team? At this stage, you probably don't need a yield management team, but you do need to have a couple of crucial decisions done that often might get done by somebody with yield management expertise. And the first of those is the rate card, because again, the rate card is the primary mechanism for describing what your products are and how they're going to be sold and how they're going to be used by your advertisers. That can be done by someone with experience in the industry. It doesn't necessarily need to be a yield team, but it's important that you get it right and early. All right, so that's stage one. Stage two, validation. This is proving that you belong. This is the stage where the ad network is launched and you are promoting it, and everything feels new to both you and your partners. So what does it look like? Some partners are running large campaigns. There's likely not many advertisers running at the same time because you probably haven't sold to that many. The processes are going to feel ad hoc, and each campaign is going to feel like you are building something from scratch. So what are the key challenges? The partners are going to expect reporting and measurement at the same level that they would expect from other partners, and there are clear things that you need to do to deliver on those expectations. So what are the things that you need to get right? The key here is good operations. You need to prove that you can get ads up and running, rendering on your page, and you need to prove that they can deliver. At this stage, do you need a yield management team or a yield management person? No. Again, for similar reasons to stage one, you can probably get away without it, so long as you have people who are experienced in the industry who can make some of the right decisions. All right, stage three. And again, I'm calling this optimization, calling it making it work. This is you're a year or two into the journey. You have the business up and running for a year and it is starting to feel sustainable, but you have some significant challenges. So what's it look and feel like? It's starting to feel like a sustainable business. But one of the key challenges is you may still be getting experimentation and innovation budgets from agencies and advertisers. In other words, they're playing around, they're interested, they're running test campaigns, but you have not fully proven out the value. They're not running repeatable campaigns because you haven't necessarily proven out the ROAS. So you're getting feedback from advertisers about the things that they like and don't like, about the ad performance, about the viewability, etc. So at this stage, what do you have to get right? You have to get good reporting running. You have to start optimizing your ad units, maybe moving them around on pages, changing the size of those units. You need to start having approval processes on the deals that you're running because you've got more campaigns coming in. Key operations at this stage is still really important. You need to prove that the ads are up and running and they are delivering value. At this stage, do you need a yield management person or team? Maybe. You're starting to take on some of the different components of an organization that a yield management team would do. Business reporting, deal approvals, rate card approvals, inventory forecasting. You either need a yield management team or you need those components done by other teams like ad ops or ops finance. And it may be easier at this stage to start investing in a yield management team. You certainly need to have clarity as to who's responsible for what. All right, stage 4, expansion. For most retail and media and commerce networks, if they are successful, they're going to start hitting limits to the growth on their own site. Maybe they have run out of inventory, or at least the inventory that advertises demand on the front page or list alongside key products. And so the challenge becomes, where do you find growth in other ways? And so the key question is, where do we go from here? You've reached the limits of the first version of your business and you need to start planning for the second. And again, I fully acknowledge that it is possible to launch a retail media network running both on your own site and off network at the same time, almost from day one. But in practice, at some stage, the limits to your owned and operated capacity are going to have to get addressed. So here, we are looking at where do we go to get more supply and more demand. And that's going to involve questions like, do we need new geographies? Do we need new ad units? Do we need new managed advertisers who are, for example, non-endemic? They haven't been partners in the past. Do we need new ad products like audience extension, like bundles, etc.? Should we be focused more on margin management? Again, in those first few stages, you are just focused on getting things up and running, maybe a little bit of optimization and ensuring that the advertisers are happy. You're not spending a lot of time on the ad network margin management. You're probably also looking at partnerships with other publishers or other retail media networks, and you may be starting to maximize your programmatic channels by bringing on things like private marketplaces through deal IDs. Now, do you need a pricing and yield management team? Yeah, probably. Similar to the previous stage, you can maybe get by without it so long as other teams are doing it. But now you're really starting to look at options and trade-offs that don't clearly fall in anybody else's job description. This isn't a sales activity, it isn't a finance activity, and you need a group who's independent. In the short term, your ad product team may take the lead, but they're not going to be managing it day to day. And now let's get to stage 5, scaling with data and taking control. And again, this may be done in conjunction with stage 4 as part of where do you expand. So at this stage, you're really starting to take on more complexity of your organization. There may be organizations who are smaller who start with data, but I really realistically don't think they have the resources to do it. What does it look like? We are starting to do things with data and technology that not all the people who started with us in stage 1 understand. The questions we're asking ourselves is, how do we take control of our destiny, and how do we ensure that our data assets are being well used? At this stage, the key challenge is the business is starting to become really complex and hard to manage. And not everybody in the business understands all parts of the business. So you are starting to do things like explore building your own ad server in order to take better control of the priorities of the ad serving. You're starting to look at either selling your data or selling different targeting and segments to your advertisers. You're looking at augmentation through targeting and through the creation of data clean rooms. And you're starting to look at dynamic floor management. Again, this is dynamic floor management. I've done videos on this. People love to race to do this as one of the first yield management activities. I would bring it on at this stage as one of the last activities that I would be exploring to see if it has value. Do you need a pricing and yield management team? Yes, again, whether you formally create one or not, you need a group who is doing stuff that wouldn't normally have been done in the organization in those first couple of stages. So you need very clear rules, you need the ability to manage trade-offs across the different product lines and different channels, and you need the discipline to ensure that nothing falls through the cracks. These challenges are ones that retail media networks, commerce media networks face time and again. And if I had one lesson that to take away from all of this, it's that you have to ensure that you are both understanding what stage your business is currently in, but also planning for the challenges of the next stage. These are the types of interesting problems I work with my customers and clients on a regular basis. If you need help, please reach out. I am James Deaker. I am the Yield Doctor. Thanks for watching.